Hello, hello, and good this very moment, wherever you are. Here in Australia, it will be a good evening, and of course, somewhere else would be good morning. Elsewhere would be good afternoon. And in any case, thank you for joining me and the Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra on this series of teachings on Thursday evenings. On this term, we are subject topic of the teaching is the qualities of three precious gems. This is our last session on the topic. As usual, before we start the teaching, I will do the very refuge. The refuge is the actual affirmation in knowing and cherishing and valuing the qualities of the three precious gems in one's life, how precious they are, and then acknowledging them. And by way of acknowledging them, one recollects their qualities, one revives one's devotion and faith in the three gems, and not as external savior, but the very much like guide and like a torch to find your way by adhering to the torch of Dharma through the guidance of the good examples of the noble Sangha, and then the inspiration of the fully enlightened Buddha. So in order to rekindle one's faith and devotion and commitment to follow and practice the way, we therefore do the refuge first, and then generate the bodhicitta, altruistic motivation with which we listen, reflect, and think, whatever we do. So this is not just a formality at the beginning, but it is actually it should be the way to stay present on practicing and walking and the path as much as one can in one's everyday life. So therefore it's a kind of a periodically trying to remind oneself to do that. So particularly before teachings or some particular formal Dharma activities, they must always do the refuge. So that's what we're going to do, and the generation bodhicitta and reflecting on the four immeasurables. Oyenda Buddha Dharma Asanga Ajere Yede Lajama Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Adavajuebe Endabu Dharma Asanga Ajere Yede Lajama Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Adavajuebe Endabu Dharma Asanga Ajere Yede Lajama Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Adavajuebe Endabu Dharma Asanga Ajere Yede Lajama Bhavaja Ajendala Ajare Vada happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they draw equanimity, free from her judgment and aversion to the near and far. May hope is happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they draw equanimity, free from her judgment and aversion to the near and far. May hope is happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they draw equanimity, free from her judgment and aversion to those near and far. According to the intelligence and predisposition of it, where the yajana dharma agela and come ego. So this is our last session on the topic of the qualities of three precious gems. Of course, it is very presumptuous to think that qualities of three precious gems can be talked about only in 8 sessions. Of course, that is not the case. Here we are simply giving ourselves an important opportunity to reflect what the three precious gems constitute, why knowing their qualities will greatly enable us to deepen and sort of add a new dimension to what we think people who have refuge in the three gem means. Because the more we know the qualities of the Buddha, the qualities of the Dharma, and qualities of Sangha, gem, so we call three Ratna. Three Ratna means there are three. Buddha Ratna, Dharma Ratna, Sangha Ratna. And when the coming together of these three gems, and one who discovers the three gems and have actually faith and follow the way of the Buddha, the way of the Dharma, through the inspiration of Sangha, and who are deeply devoted and by the qualities of the Buddha. So that's why these qualities of three precious gems is what binds all the Buddhists from Sri Lanka all the way to all the Southeast Asian countries, and not to mention all the countries in the Himalayan region, and then of course Northeast Asia, and as well as North Asia, as far as Mongolia and Tibet, we may call this Central Asia, and nowadays in as many as all parts of the 7 continents of the world. The fact that people are attracted to teachings of the Buddha is because there is a living Sangha, living at least symbolic Sangha, Sangha Ratna. People like to see the qualities of the Sangha and the positive effect that Sanghas have to the small units of Buddhist communities, be that Sri Lankan or Thai or Burmese or Cambodian or Laotian or Vietnamese, as well as Bhutanese or Tibetan or Japanese or Korean or whatever community they have. They all have Sangha members. They all regard the members of their Sangha community as a Sangha members. They definitely are Sangha members, whether they are Upasaka, the layman, or Upasika, which is female laywoman, as well as Shramanera, novice man and novice woman, as well as a bhikkhu or bhikkhunis. Any of these 3 categories of layman and laywoman and novice and then novice man and novice woman, as well as fully ordained man and fully ordained woman as bhikkhu and bhikkhunis. The existence of these Sangha members makes our very Buddhist community to thrive or to continue. Last week I talked about the 8 qualities of Buddha, the Sangha Ratna. So this very much talking about the 3 knowledges and 3 liberations. So of course that is referring to the Sangha Ratna, not just the Sangha members as in a conventional sense. But in this world, most people have only, whether they have Sangha or not, they usually regard only to the monastics as a Sangha. So that's one of the kind of limitations, because people are not able to see layman and laywoman, lay Buddhist man and lay Buddhist woman as a really Sangha. They don't seem to call that in the some Buddhist traditions. They don't think they are Sangha Sangha members. When they refer to Sangha member, they always think of a ordained one. Even among ordained, maybe the fully ordained bhikkhus, and even bhikkhunis are, not even accepted some Buddhist traditions, thinking there is no lineage or there's no authentic lineages or these kind of things. So generally Buddhist people's education about these kind of basic teachings on the qualities of Sangha Ratna, is very limited. Because of that, they are very, very discriminatory in terms of who is a Sangha member, who is not. Even not only they have the disregard the laymen and laywomen, devout practitioners, as a Sangha member. They're just devotees. They just think they are devotees. They call them devotees. They might even not be eating with the ordained Sangha members, or maybe not meant to even eat in front of them or before them or together, but they can eat afterwards, maybe in a separate room. So this kind of hierarchy of Buddhist way between ordained and a layman has somewhat made it as though the sanghas are necessarily have to be fully ordained men. That makes it that excludes laymen and laywomen, and novice boy and novice girl, and bhikkhunis. They don't almost they disregard these other categories. Because even fully ordained bhikkhu is only a Sangha member. He's not Sangha Ratna. So conventionally you need to have at least 4 Sangha, members of the Sangha, to constitute a Sangha. Sangha means community, holy, excellent community. So therefore, excellent community is like a different kind of rafter that support the same ceiling, must all support each other equally with mutual respect. Of course, one would have more respect to some more than the other due to their seniority or in knowledge and goodness and qualities and so on. But nevertheless, the idea of that everybody is bonded together by the qualities of the Dharma, which they study and practice together. When there is that kind of mutual respect towards each and every Sangha member, it's far more wholesome than the discrimination between male ordained or female ordained, and so on. So that's a cultural thing, I think. Not only that, I'm here airing my concerns in how very little understanding of Sankaratna creates discrimination and bias. Not only are there the bias between men and women and ordained and unordained, it's a caste system created by Buddhism. But not only that, people who are ethnically Buddhist in Sri Lanka or Thai, they only seem to honor their monks in their robes, their language. And when they see the Burmese or when they see some other lineage traditions, they almost look at them with some kind of doubt or contempt. So this shows that a Buddhist community lacks a true understanding of what role every Sangha member plays, no matter what culture and linguistic background they belong to. That shows they don't know the qualities of Sangha. Sangaratna. Sangaratna is we must see that everybody has Buddha nature. And therefore, without looking at the dress or gender or ethnicity, we must all regard all practitioners as a Sangha member. So if we have that, then there is no that helps the person to instill his or her faith and comfort in being in a Sangha without feeling, oh, I live in a town, I don't have Sangha. They call it. People say that. Even people who follow the minor Tibetan lineages, they say there are quite a few Tibetan centers in the town, but they say, oh, I don't have Sangha here. They're talking about their own little groups. They don't really know to have the respect to go and pay homage to the Buddha in the Thai temple or Burmese temple or another Tibetan group, because they say, oh, I don't have my Sangha. Yeah, I feel very sad because that shows they're only talking about their little groupies, you know. They're little groups with a one specific finite lama or teacher. They follow that, and they follow one or two rituals taught by that, and then anything else they can't follow. They don't have this kind of a overall devotion and respect to the whole notion of the Sangharatna and Sangha as a community of believers in the teachings of the Buddha. When you are thinking like that, that shows that people do not have the understanding of the quality of Sangha. They are only talking of bias to their little groups. They travel all the way from one end of the country to another to go to maybe once or twice to go to their group, but otherwise they don't visit the local nearest or temple of any Buddhist persuasion. I think that's how the Buddhist people are succeeding to become smaller and smaller because they're not united, or they don't have this good holistic understanding of what constitute the qualities of Triple Gem in which we all have refuge. When you see the Thai or Burmese or Chinese or Japanese or Tibetan or Bhutanese, how they all show their deep respect to the Buddha, we know that we are all following the one and only enlightened Buddha. There are not many enlightened Buddhas. There's only one in this era. Shakyamuni Buddha is the fourth Buddha, and there hasn't been a fifth, let alone sixth. You know, so the next Buddha is considered Maitreya, and that is not going to happen until many thousand years after. So therefore, the Buddha is very, very rare. There's no one separate objects of refuge. Now, if people think the refuge object is not the Buddha and they're following some particular some kind of deity or their own saint in their town or their lineage, that almost shows that people really didn't have an overall understanding of three precious gems. If you have the understanding of three precious gems, then you would not be having this very limited, narrow-minded view of one's own cultural or ethnic Buddhist group, or some people not only ethnic, but they just, whichever small group they follow, they only go and meet with them. That otherwise they don't feel that they are part of they're part of the whole precious quality of refuge in the Triple Gem. Hence, all practitioners are Sangha. Remember, we talked about the 8 qualities of Sangharatna. One of them is awareness that all sentient beings have Buddha nature. And Sangharatna, one who is a true precious Sangha, he or she actually sees all sentient beings having Buddha nature, and therefore treat with respect. Particularly if they are also followers of Dharma and they have refuge in the practice of Dharma, we should all feel part of them. So that's part of the reason why these qualities of the 3 precious gems is being discussed here, is that how can we broaden our horizon by accepting all people who follow the teachings of Buddha from whichever ethnic or linguistic background. One should actually know that they are all followers of the same one Buddha and same one Dharma. The Dharma that are taught by Buddha may have some kind of minor interpretation or mode of practice, may differ from one group to another, let alone culture to culture, but they are all following the Dharma as the medicine, Buddha as the physician, and Sangha as nurses and carers. So if we have this kind of holistic understanding of the qualities of the Buddha, quality of Dharma, and quality of Sangha, then of course that will greatly boost the the harmony and collective working together of all Buddhist community. So this being this topic, qualitative Sangha being the last one. Last week we talked about the overall quality of the Sangha, the three knowledges and three liberations, altogether eight qualities under the subtitle of knowledge and liberations. Of course, those are Sangha Ratna, those who have reached beyond, say, path of seeing and path of on the range of path of meditation. So what therefore it's important is not so much for me to go into individual sangha members, but nevertheless it's very important for us to reflect how many and who the Sangharatna-like quality bearing individuals have held in the traditions and the lineage that you yourself come from. So it's very important to go and study and read and reflect on those individuals. Like I mentioned last week, the Buddha had many disciples, like Shariputra and Moggallanaputra, as well as then, even though these two disciples predeceased the Buddha, but when they were alive, Buddha himself both highly praised the Shariputra and Moggallana's special qualities and attributes. And of course, when Buddha passed away, then the reign passed on to Mahakashyapa, and then to Ananda, then to Shanavasti, then to Upagupta. Now these are all arhats, These are all arhats, When we talk about arhats, we're talking about those who have entered the stream, once returner, non-returner, and arhathood. There are 4 stages. Each of these 4 stages, both in Theravada and Mahayana teaching, clearly defines their actual their knowledge, how much their knowledge is increasing, and how much they are gaining liberation. So the wording stream enterer and once returner, non-returner says very much what kind of fetters are eradicated by reaching on which level, and so only when they have totally reached the arhathood, then of course they become the noble Sangharatna. So the very dint or legacy of the individual Sangha Ratnas definitely have made the biggest kind of a contribution to keeping the Buddha Dharma alive and living strong traditions. And it seems in most cases the kind of prominent leaders of the Sangharatna, among the Sangharatnas, are usually ordained, usually fully ordained. But at the same time, there were even during Buddha's time, there were many laymen and laywomen who also attained arhathood, as did fully ordained women and men, and each of their contribution is incredibly valid and very noticeable. So therefore, if you were to truly know the quality of Sangha Gem, then you can see why Dharma is in your life, And in Tibetan Buddhism, it places very great, significance in what we call guru devotion. People think the guru devotion is kind of a people worship. That's really not the case. But when the guru devotion becomes royalty and to status, titles, and who recognize who, that sort of thing, that is a little bit sort of different from the traditional Buddhist of devotion to the Sangha, you know. So Sangha necessarily talks about community, not a kind of a personality of individual stardom, you know. So where there is Sangha, there is a community. The community are constituting laymen, laywomen, ordained men and women. So preferably where there is all these four members working harmoniously together to protect, to study, to propagate, to meditate, to listen, and to teach the noble Dharma, the what you call holy Dharma, you know, precious holy Dharma, and that community whose whole objective for instance, any Buddhist association, organization, if you look at their aims and objectives, they will see they will propagate the Dharma, they teach the Dharma, so that it usually is not on a one individual's status or symbol or rank that hold the Dharma. When everything is interdependent, there is no individual Sangha member's status does anything by itself. Even if the Sangha member himself is very holy or very realized, he still needs devotees. He still needs those who will have to do all the logistical works. So therefore, we have to have a very holistic understanding of what makes this tradition of the follower Dharma continue. Is a collective work of people doing many different capacities. Wherever we are party to our Buddhist community, we too should be doing some role of uplifting that work, whether becoming a paying member, or participating member, or volunteering member, or actually doing some of the actual administrative, logistical work. And all these are what I regard as, because people are all doing this because of the Dharma and the incredible teachings and the knowledge that it transmits to the greater good of many. So that's why it is important. I first thought of focusing this session on some particular individuals, but that would be not really possible, because that requires one to go into a little bit more biographical details. But nevertheless, some names should be mentioned, so that each and every one of you may therefore do the same. Do the same meaning, go and study the lives of some of the luminaries of the Dharma that either in the lineage of yourself, look at the present living teachers and leading Sangha members, how they are brought up, what time and energy and effort have they dedicated to be knowledgeable in the Dharma, to be realizing the teaching of the Dharma, and how much of their contribution is now reaching and benefiting many people. So when you look at that, then you can see how within each and every generation there have been such individuals that inspired and kept the Dharma and taught the Dharma, practiced the Dharma from generation to generation. Whether they themselves have reached any heights of arhathood or not is not ours to, not something we can gauge or judge or assess, because we mostly do not know them. But if you really see the end result of their work, the torch has passed on from generation to generation, all the way from the Buddha through the seven patriarchs, according to Tibetan Buddhism, the seven first patriarchs up to Venerable Sudarshana and Krishna. These are way before Nagarjuna. Nagarjuna only came in the in the 2nd century AD. So what happened between Nagarjuna and say Rahula? So some people have the list of their Vinaya preceptors, and not some, but like say in Tibetan, there will list Buddha Shakyamuni, Rahula, and Nagarjuna. So what happened between Rahula and Nagarjuna? Rahula was Buddha's son. That is a 500 BC, 500 BC. And so Nagarjuna came in the 2nd century. So that's nearly 600 years. So who are the luminaries between Rahula and Nagarjuna? Is it because they didn't exist, or they don't remember who they are, or they don't have the list? It's most likely that is the case. It's not because there were no lineage masters that Rahula ordained somebody, and so on and so forth. And then Nagarjuna would have received ordination from somebody else. So if you really look at the Vinaya ordination list, whether they are Mula Sarvastadin or Theravada or whatever, of course Theravadins wouldn't go near the name of Nagarjuna, because they even doubt of historicity of Nagarjuna. So therefore we need to be very, very, very inclusive insofar as thinking, okay, there is Shakyamuni Buddha, Rahula, and then straight away Nagarjuna. Even let's say there was an authentic lineage between Rahula and Nagarjuna for the 600 years, because it seems that Dharma has stayed strong. But there was the case that the Nagarjuna has to appear mysteriously and therefore revealed some hidden Mahayana literature under the sea, that kind of story. So what happened during those gap between those 600 years? It doesn't mean there was no living lineage. Every generation there were living lineages, and hence passed down. And so that's, and say even Zen tradition, when they list all there may be 26 patriarchs or something, and they actually don't have much more a comprehensive list between Rahula and Nagarjuna either. So does it mean that there was no lineages? In Tibetan tradition, exactly the same. They actually have this lineage masters prayer to the Vinaya lineage masters, and they basically go Shakyamuni, Rahula, and straight away Nagarjuna. But then, so from Nagarjuna onwards, see, from the 2nd century onwards, when you list them, there's only a half a dozen before it comes to the Tibetans, which is in the 8th century, earliest in the 8th century, So from the second century Nagarjuna to 8th century Tibet, there's another only half a dozen names. So what are we talking about? There definitely is a lot of the luminaries names. No doubt they existed, but are not listed. So if they're not listed, does it mean the lineage did not exist? That's not the case, because lineage dependent on living Sangha, generation to generation, whether it's a Mula Sarvastadin that came to Tibet through Shantarakshita, even when they talk about the lineages of the Vinaya in Tibet, they call the upper Vinaya lineage, middle Vinaya lineage, and the lower Vinaya lineage. So they're talking about more geographically. When they say upper refers to the Kashmiri region, and the middle probably refers to Nepal, and then the lower refers to somewhere else. So they're mainly sort of named after geographical kind of entry points into Tibet, how the Vinaya came. And so the purpose of knowing this is that we shouldn't be too pedantic about the individuals, but rather look at overall dissemination of the precious Dharma through either correct list of names of the lineage masters, or not so accurate, not so comprehensive list, but very incomplete list. But nevertheless, that we believe that the lineage has never lost, even though the list of the individuals seems like definitely missing. Definitely many are missing. Some are never mentioned. Others are in the wrong order. So then, around the 11th century, then from the 11th century onwards, and then the list become very, very comprehensive. So that shows that, for instance, the Tibetan lineages' memory is better of their own particular lineage that started in the 11th century, or some even in 15th century. Then they have then the list of their teachers are very, very impressive list. Almost we actually of the dates. We actually but anything beyond that, it become very, very obscure. Who they almost try to say that our lineage is some kind of a unique and special, but none of them actually is able to provide a comprehensive list of all the Vinaya lineages, let alone Vajrayana lineages. If any lineage masters list are there, it's because it's because it's their lineage. Therefore, they have the list. Therefore, the list is a little bit more comprehensive for the last, say 900 years or 700 years to some people. So what I'm saying here is that the precious quality of sanghas are the individuals who have went and studied and practiced and meditated and realized and disseminated. This definitely has occurred, what you call, without interruption. But due to various reasons, mundane political reasons, people ignore some lines of succession while they prefer the another. When it comes to this like lineage of succession, they say they have some kind of not only historical lineage, which they can't really list all the earlier teachers, but their own lineages they have completed. Then they make that list also what do we call historical lineage, near lineage, very near lineages. So very near lineages almost there's nobody but the pure vision of the practitioner in say 11th century, and he had this vision of the a deity or even Buddha, and then therefore they say that the lineage straight away starts from there. In any case, the whole idea of the quality of the Sangha gem is that we have given so much respect to the individual lineage masters, be they Sutric or Tantric. It seems in the Tantric tradition in Tibetan, the list of the lineage gurus are quite impressive, at least from what they think when their lineage started. Most of them started in 10th or 8th century. Earliest, like the Nyingma lineage started in 11th, the 8th century, and then the others like Kagyu and Sakya started in the 11th century, late 10th, early 10th, 11th century. And Gelugpa, of course, doesn't really feature as early because it is a lineage within Tibet. And the founder of Gelugpa, with Tsongkhapa, never went to India. Even he did, he wouldn't find any Indian teacher. So he's very much, Gelugpa lineage is the lineage within the Tibetan tradition. So it's a branch of Sakya and to somewhat also Kagyu. So therefore the Kagyu, Sakya and Gelug are all very relatively young lineages. Gelugpa and particularly very young. um, youngest of all. And no, they don't really have any Indian panditas or masi that's directly related to them, because by that time in 14th century there was nothing of Buddhism in India. Even if Tsongkhapa went to India, he never could go and need to go, because all the Dharma was firmly established in Tibet. So therefore it's very important to know that this succession of great Sangha members that came in the history are all connected to the same one Buddha, learning one Dharma. So why we have to be so segregated because of the luminaries, the individual Sanghas? That's because we don't know the qualities of three gems holistically. Because of that, we become so biased with our lineage named after an individual person, as if that's not the lineage of the Buddha Dharma. Of course, that's why we need to really allay the misunderstanding they have of between lineages and schools and tradition, but think that we are all follower of the same three jewels, three precious gems. That three precious gems is a precious gem of the Buddha. Had the Buddha not come to the world, there will have been no precious Dharma. Had the Dharma been not taught in India and Sri Lanka, those first 500 years, how would Nagarjuna be so much a champion to propagate the Dharma in any way, let alone influence in North and Central Asia? If Nagarjuna was so special, which I have no reason to doubt, why is it that his popularity and acceptance didn't flourish in say South India or in Southeast Asia? So this shows there was definitely bias against some that they didn't know about. Some they may not even accept the historicity of Nagarjuna. When I had some informal discussion with some scholars at Nalanda University in India, they said they don't accept Nagarjuna stories. They just flatly refuse the historicity of Nagarjuna, even though they may read the book name written by Nagarjuna. They still dispute the historicity of the individual that the Mahayana tells who Nagarjuna is. They dispute the very fact that how Nagarjuna could have revealed all the Mahayana literature under the sea as how he became how he brought the Prajaparamita literature to light, and they don't accept. So therefore, you can see the however revered Nagarjuna is in the far lands like Tibet or China or Japan, but that is not so in the very nativity, say Sri Lanka or Thailand or even in India itself. It seems to be not into the south anyway, but some parts he was highly revered, other parts he's not revered. So that shows the bias against each other or bias towards themselves definitely has made the Sangha segregated to the extent. Even when you read the Mahayana literature, it always talks about refuting people holding various either non-Buddhist views or low and mistaken Buddhist views, how they were kind of refuted and rejected by each other. They all talk about how to make a presentation of your school's view and how to refute the other. When they're talking about refuting the other, they're not talking about anybody other than individuals. If you really look at the Dharma that they all fundamentally agree, there is no dispute. The Buddha gem and Dharma gem, particularly Dharma taught by the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path, 12 Links of Interdependent Origination, the Middle Way, the Right View. If you really boils down to the three Tripitaka practices, all the Buddhist lineages and tradition unanimously agree the Vinaya Pitaka, Sutra Pitaka, and Abhidharma Pitaka. So they don't really have lots of disagreement with the actual fundamental teachings of the Buddha. But when it comes to the individuals who are playing role of the Dharma, then they don't accept. So that shows that the people did not have any good holistic understanding of the role of the Sangha, role of the precious gem of the Sangha. So that's why any familiarity we might have, such as, say, the role of Xuanzang. Xuanzang is a very celebrated Chinese Buddhist monk who traveled to India through the Silk Road in search of Dharma. If you really study his life and what he did, and how his colleagues, some even a few hundred years before him, like Faxian and Yixing and Kumarajiva and others, you will see the incredible devotion of those Chinese who traveled thousands of miles before Tibetans even woke up from the existence of the Dharma. As early as 2nd century A.D., Chinese pilgrims have already reached India. They were studying and they were translating. And they became very instrumental in bringing Dharma to China, where today, even in 21st century, that country still can boast the biggest Buddhist population, 400 to 500 million. Even the political regime there are anti-Dharma, or who thinks that religion is poison, but yet its 400 to 500 population do solemnly believe and follow Buddhist teachings. Why? That is because the great luminaries like Kumarajiva, Faxian, Yixing, and Xuanzang, these are incredible. When you really read the life and work of Xuanzang, why is his contribution not listed in some other Buddhist tradition? Is it because he's Chinese? That's the only reason why we don't have that in Tibetan Buddhism, because we didn't know about him, or we just think he's Chinese. Same goes with the story of certain Tibetan teachers, like say Milarepa. When I read the Milarepa live, I could see he's almost like the Buddha, but he can't be the Buddha as a historical Buddha, because he's not Maitreya. Because the immediate present Buddha is Shakyamuni. Next one is Maitreya, not Milarepa. But nevertheless, Milarepa's renunciation of his difficult past life, youth life, and his complete devotion to the Dharma when he finally met, and he was completely influenced and inspired by no other than his teacher, Marpa. Now, who is Marpa? Marpa is a translator, celebrated translator, even though he is not as famous as some other translator. Nevertheless, he went to India, studied Sanskrit, met Naropa, and so on. So those days, most of the Indian Mahasiddhas, like Naropa and others, they were all like Mahasiddhas. They are like a realized kind of adepts who are regarded as not monastics, who have gone beyond monasticism. And here, therefore, Marpa never became a monk. But nevertheless, Marpa became the very codifier of Dharma in Tibet, and to influence the formation of the celebrated Kagyu lineage, and whose disciple is Milarepa. Milarepa is also not a monastic. And nevertheless, when it comes down to the influence of Milarepa, Milarepa's disciple is is Gampopa. And Gampopa is and became a monk, but not in his early young age, because he was a physician and he has a wife and 2 children. Then he too realized the futility of a householder's life, because he though was a very celebrated physician and reputed to have saved many people from brink of death through his art of medicine. But when it came to his own wife and 2 children, his medicine was no use. Then he became very much disgusted with that and disappointed. Then he renounced medicine. And what he took up? He took the Dharma medicine. He took up the Dharma medicine instead, and then became a very amazing, celebrated monastic. So while Gampopa's teacher Gampopa's teacher Milarepa is not a monastic, nor is Marpa a monastic. So you can see the Sangharatna role of Marpa and Naropa and Milarepa shows they were all obviously would have realized certain heights of realizing path of seeing and path for meditation, that's for sure. And maybe even realize path of normal learning, we can't always say who reached what level. But nevertheless, you can see the influence of Marpa and Milarepa as 2 householder practitioners to the formation of glorious Kagyu lineage through Gampopa. And from Gampopa had many disciples, and it is from him then branched 12 sub-lineages within the Kagyu lineage. And of course, Gampopa himself, his seat is Tagla Gampo, and then one of his main disciples is the first Karmapa. And now, until first Karmapa, there was no need to indulge into the notion of incarnation system. And there is no mention of Marpa's incarnation, Milarepa's incarnation, or not even saying that the Gampopa's incarnation is such and such. They were just individuals who are completely changed and transformed by the precious gem of Dharma.